Welcome to the September 8th, 2014 meeting of the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council. Thank you for coming. If before anything else, if we could stand and recite the pledge. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. There's quite a few people here, so we will continue without any further ado. If we could hand it over to Max Rossi for roll call.
Hello. When I call your name, please say this. Jack Dugan? Elizabeth Carmen?
She's excused.
Okay. Mike Lipsitz?
Present.
Okay. Mike Lipsitz? Mark Lundquist? Pat Flanagan? Max Rossi, present. Gail Surratt?
Here.
Mary Helen Tuttle?
Present.
Thank you. And the next order of business, we'd like to install our newest delegate to the MAC, Pat Flanagan. And if anyone has not received an agenda, they are on the table over here as you come in by the flag. And also on that table are comment cards. If you expect to, if you like, at some point you anticipate that you want to make a comment, please fill out a card and pass them up here. You can do that anytime. Just walk over there, grab one, fill it out. And when you're called, if you would, make your comments from the podium so that they can get your audio on the recording. Can everyone hear me okay? Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the duties entrusted me.
I will faithfully execute the duties entrusted to me.
As a delegate to the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council.
As a delegate to the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council.
And to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend.
And to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The State of California.
The State of California.
And the Charter of the Municipal Advisory Council.
And the Charter of the Municipal Advisory Council.
I take this oath without any reservation.
I take this oath without any reservation.
Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome. It's a nice warm welcome. And the next order of business is adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had on the dais had a chance to look over the agenda? Any changes? Yes, Pat.
You have on the first page of the resolution for the Basin Energy Assessment Team and the map on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whereas is down. Second line, add after complicated aspects of the plan.
Yes.
And it reads, input to these complicated aspects of the plan until they are deemed complete.
Thank you. Yes, that was apparently omitted. Any other changes to the agenda? Or additions?
Name correction.
Name corrections. No hell in Helen.
No hell in Helen.
Okay. Thank you. Any other changes or additions? Hearing none, we will adopt the agenda as presented with the two changes mentioned. And moving on to the minutes of the meeting of August 11th. Everyone's had a minute to look over those and speak up if there are any changes. Any changes? Okay, hearing none. The minutes will be accepted as presented. And now a call for public comment. If there are any blue cards out there or white cards, whichever color you picked up from the table, hey, but. First would be folks who wanted to speak on items not on the agenda but within the purview of the MAC. And I see that so far all I've received are associated with one subject. Hi, David. Okay. David Fick. No.
Now people can hear me. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the MAC. I was wanting to give an update on the Dollar General issue. Some people have been following this. It went to litigation, and it went to the judge, and the judge, maybe this can be for the proponents of the Altamira project, can listen carefully. The judge decided an EIR was needed for a 1.45 acre convenience store. Of course, it took quite a bit of writing, very good judicial writing or legal writing by our lawyer and such, but we were able to have that happen. The judge took medical leave for about 3 to 4 months. He's come back, but he still hasn't come out with his final writ of decision. So we're still waiting. So officially that is in limbo. But here's the bigger limbo. Dollar General is trying to buy Family Dollar for $9.7 billion. If people understand what's going on, there's two huge giant corporations trying to one's trying to take over the other. Dollar General might have to do a hostile takeover. For those who don't know all about all these Dollar Trees and Family Dollar and Dollar General, Family Dollar is going to be absorbed either by Dollar General or Family Tree. Dollar General is in a lot better position to do so. If Dollar General doesn't, they've upped their bid to $80 per share, $9.7 billion, that still hasn't been taken by Family Dollar. So they possibly are going to go to the shareholders, and then they'll do a hostile buyout. If they do a hostile buyout so that they do not violate the monopoly or antitrust rules, they have to divest themselves of over 1,500 stores. In other words, 1,500 Dollar General stores do not become Dollar General stores. They become something else. So if they're looking at a Joshua Tree Dollar General, which is going to cost them an extra $300,000 to $400,000 to put in, and they're having to get rid of 1,500 stores minimum, what do you think they're going to do? That might explain what the limbo with the Flamingo Heights one is. It's been fully permitted since last March, and nothing's happened. So I think this is just pure guessing, but we're thinking from up above, they're saying we want to hold back on installing any more stores until we figure out what we're going to do with this Family Dollar issue. Half a minute left. For the longest time, people were aware when it went to the Planning Commission, and then it went to the Board of Supervisors, and then it went to litigation. For the longest time, they were calling this a Dollar General. Then, when it got to the planning, they called it a Joshua Tree retail store, even though everybody knew it was a Dollar General. They were calling it that for some strange reason. Time up. Thank you, people.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anyone not turned in a card to speak on an item not on the agenda? Okay, moving along then. Public safety reports. First up, we have Tom Marshall, Battalion Chief for San Bernardino County Fire. Thank you for coming back this month.
Well, it's great to be back. Nice to see a full house, everybody. Good evening. A couple of things to pass on tonight. Your total responses for the month of August. Johnson Valley had a total of 7 calls for service. Joshua Tree, 111. Wonder Valley, 27. Landers, 6. Pioneer Town and Rincon both, 0. Congratulations. And Yucca Mesa, 62. That's a total of 211. 4 of those were fire responses, 171 EMS responses, 2 hazardous conditions, 22 service calls, 34 good intent calls, which we discussed last time I was here, what that was, and 5 false calls, 2 other calls, which were for severe weather incidents, like we're having right now out on Highway 95. We're having a swiftwater rescue. So, are there any other questions for me? Okay, we remind you now that this is national preparedness. We're looking at, excuse me. We're looking at making sure that we're ready for all of disasters, whether they're earthquakes, fires, floods. Preparedness time is here, so let's work on that. Thank you.
Thank you for your brevity. Next we have Lieutenant Eric Robles, the new chief over at California Highway Patrol, and Public Information Officer Joan Griffin. Thanks for coming. Welcome back.
Good evening. I'm glad to be back. I missed last month. I was on vacation. I just wanted to remind everyone that September 16th, it's going to be next week, there's a new law taking effect that's going to affect all of us. It's involving the bicyclists out there. So basically it's move over 3 feet for the bicyclist. If there's a bicyclist riding in the road, you have to give them 3 feet all the way around when you pass them. If you cannot pass them because there's traffic coming, you cannot give them the 3 feet, you have to slow to a speed that's going to present no danger to the bicyclist. You know, we've all been out there on the freeway in our car and a big rig's gone flying by us. And what does it do? It shakes us around. Well, if you're on a bicycle, and bicyclists have the right to use the roads, if you're on a bicycle and a car flies by you, it's the same experience, except you're way worse. So, does anyone have any questions about the law? Yes, sir.
What type of highways is this going to cover?
Any roadway. A highway is basically the street that you live on, so it's any publicly maintained road. So it's going to cover every street that's out there.
Will that include Highway 62 through the park?
Absolutely. Well, you're talking about through the national park?
Right.
The national park is federal lands, so the
Highway is not, the highway is federal highway.
it is a federal highway, but it's not a state highway. So this applies to any California roads.
So does that mean it's covered?
Park Route 12, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I understand what you mean. Basically, Park Boulevard any of the roads throughout the park. You know, it's a good idea to still do it, even on the dirt roads. I mean, even on the dirt roads where it's not necessarily the law. Still, maybe do that. That's the right thing to do.
Well, I'm asking as a bicyclist, not as...
Right, I got you, sir. I understand. No, I know. You're out. I think I've seen you out there. So we're asking people to just do the right thing. We all have to, you know, travel on the roads together, and the bicyclists have the right to be there. A lot of people don't realize that, but they do. Any other questions?
Up here.
Yes, ma'am.
And you still cannot pass a bicyclist on the right side, is that correct? Unlike...
I can't think of a time when you would. Now, if a bicyclist needs to, say a bicyclist is traveling down Highway 62, and they approach the intersection of Park Boulevard and they need to make a left turn, they're supposed to pull into the left turn pocket. They have to follow the rules of the road. So then you could pass on the right there in a through lane.
That's the only...
Right. No, you're not going to pass them on the shoulder ever, no. And bicyclists need to stay in the right half of the roadway. But sometimes it's safer for them to ride down the middle of the lane. Anybody else? Any questions about anything? Yes, sir.
Thank you. A question not pertaining to the bicycles, but out in Wonder Valley, we continue to have the issue of the illegal dumping. And this past week, we had one individual just went to one of the dirt roads and dumped 2 old sofas and drove away. But he was identified, and people know where he lives. So the question is, when we see illegal dumping taking place like that, should we call the police? What is the procedure? I mean, these folks thought, well, let's go to his house and let's get him out. But that could lead to violence and escalation. So what is the right procedure once you identify people who do illegal dumping out in the desert, and how can we address that in a legal way and also in a safe way?
Getting the good evidence and staying away from the person is great. And then code enforcement will track these people down. And they hunt them down, especially if they have great information like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have names.
Sir, anything else? Is that?
If it's after hours, they could call the sheriff's department, and we could go out and take a preliminary report and then get it over to code enforcement.
All right, very good. And also, we noticed that our mobile home in one of our properties has a bullet hole. And there's a lot of illegal shooting of guns out there in the desert, people shooting their guns, and a bullet must have come in from somewhere, hit our front of the mobile home and went straight through the wall, and it hit the microwave inside. I mean, someone could have been in there. So, and I thought, well, you know, when I noticed it, I said, oh, what happened here? And so my wife and I went out, looked at it, and there was a bullet hole through the mobile home. So the question is, in something like that, should a report be filed, and how would you proceed with something like that?
Yes, definitely file a report.
With the sheriff's department, or?
Yes, with the sheriff's department. Yeah, if you've got bullets coming through your house, call us. That's something we'd be interested in. Now, keeping in mind, well, not keeping in mind in this case, that's going to be illegal no matter what. There are some legal shooting areas that are out there. So if you know, just depending on where you're at. However, if they're shooting a solid projectile, actually no matter what it is or where they're shooting it at, they're clearly violating the law if it's hitting a house, because that's part of it being a certain distance from a resident. So just call the sheriff's department on that.
All right. Yeah, because there's really nothing out there, and it had to have been probably an accident or something like that, but still very dangerous. Thank you.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I'm very interested in people squatting in homes. I have one right next door to me. People have been there over a year and a half. The owners have lost the property because they couldn't collect rent from them and get them evicted. They stole water meters from 2 homes now, and the water district doesn't do anything except disconnect from the unit. I have rats, roaches, because they dump their trash in the backyard, pack behind the garage, and let it pile up and don't haul it. And it's really been awful trying to, and I've reported to code enforcement, vector control, every county agency I can think of. I've called the sheriff's departments multiple times. They're obviously dealing drugs, they work on cars, they jack them up, no tools involved. And then they put cars in the garage with people coming and going all the time. I've reported it 6 times to the sheriff's department. My neighbors have reported it. They robbed the house next door. I was cheering because I was sitting in my kitchen sink thinking they were moving out. There was a gate in the back corner and they robbed the people next door, like 20 of them. And there's people constantly coming and going all hours, all day. And I just kind of getting a little...
Well, let me get you even more upset. There are some things that people do that, frankly, there's little to nothing that the sheriff's department can do about it. Just because somebody's jacking up their car without tools, staying up all hours of the night, that may not be, well, actually it is not a violation of any law. If they're disturbing your peace, we can go over and tell them to knock it off. That's pretty much it. If they are squatting on property, you know, again, you'd have to call code enforcement, but there has to be a victim. So if you own your house and you vacate it, leave it, you know, don't make payments, whatever, and somebody moves into it, the people that own the house are the ones that actually have to call to make a complaint, or once it gets turned over to the bank, then they have to make that complaint. And I have seen instances where people have moved in, squatted, for lack of a better term, established a legal right to the property, and then they have to go through the eviction process, which if they fight and battle it, it can take a number of months in order to that happen, in order to get them properly evicted from the house. We don't have a legal authority to go out and throw them out of the house. We can't even show up and ask them, let me see your rental agreement. Unless we have a victim, somebody that calls and says, I own that house, they don't own it, and they're in it, and I want them out. We just can't drive around on somebody else's word, unfortunately. So, but if you call, again, code enforcement, they could do a title search, find out who owns the property, but sometimes if nobody owns it or a bank owns it and they don't have a true vested interest in it, then they may do nothing. But if you think that there's some illegal activity going on out there, call the sheriff's department and we can come out and try to investigate it. You know, again, we have limited resources. We're not going to be able to sit out there and do surveillance 24 hours a day until we see something illegal. But yeah, if they're squatting, code enforcement, somebody has to make a complaint.
Water, thousands of dollars worth of water, is that a crime?
That is. That is a crime.
I'm an eyewitness again. Eyewitness to a robbery, eyewitness to stealing water heaters, 2 of them at this point, hooking up to the telephone pole with wires. I mean, everything you can think of.
And you're reporting those. You're reporting those.
Car from the rats eating the car.
You're reporting those to the theft of.
Code enforcement's been. You call them up and they tell me it's an ongoing case. They can't tell me anything about it.
And that's true because of privacy. They won't tell you, or they legally they can't disclose what's happening with the case. But if you've reported it and they're investigating it, and then yeah, sometimes the wheels of justice turn excruciatingly slow. So, but if you see new crimes occurring, call us. We'll be happy to send somebody out there. This is CHP time. So if this is a sheriff's department question, hold it.
Buck, I tell you, if you call Buck, if you call my office also, I can help you look into code enforcement.
Does anyone else have anything else? Real quick, I wanted to remind everyone, we do have a Age Well Drive Smart class. It's a very popular senior driving class. It's going to be on Thursday at the Yucca Valley Senior Center at 10 o'clock to show up. If you've been before, you can come again. You can come as many times as you like. It doesn't cost you anything.
Thank you, John. Is that it for CHP? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Am I officially up now?
Your turn.
You may regret giving me a hands-free mic that I can walk around and work the room in.
Feel free. Don't forget to tip your waiter.
I'm going to try to keep my presentation short because we actually have an official presentation as well. But I did want to give an update. At the last meeting, I actually was not here. I know Lieutenant Wilkie came. I was taking my youngest, dropping her off at college. And those of you that have had that experience, the separation anxiety, the number of phone calls, a lot of crying the first few days. But like I tell people, I'm doing much better now. And I also don't think this case had actually reached a resolution, but the Aaron Corwin case, the missing young Marine wife from 29 Palms, I know everybody now is probably aware. We did locate her body, was able to return her to her family for a proper burial. We have arrested Christopher Lee. He's actually already had his initial appearance in court. But the main thing, I mean, all of that obviously was good news for the family, although albeit sad. But I just wanted to thank the community for their involvement. especially our volunteers with the Sheriff's Department, which are actually many members of the community. We had over 5,000 hours, volunteer hours put into it. I don't know how many hours the department did, hundreds, as Mr. Ramos will see when he gets the overtime bill. But the volunteers, I mean, if you equate that, turn that into dollars, I mean, just think even at minimum wage what 5,000 hours would do. And it was an incredible effort. I thank the community, actually thank the fire department. They actually assisted us several times in the searches because of some of the areas that we were searching, some hazardous material. We had the fire department assisting us, and actually it was the fire department. Aaron's body was so far down a mine shaft that even our cave and mine rescue experts could not go down that far. And it was actually the fire department's rescue team, and it took 2 days to get her, but because of truly all the help that we got from our volunteers in the fire department, that we were able to bring a successful conclusion to that case. The criminal case probably will go on for quite some time. I don't imagine that it will see the inside of a courthouse. The trial won't start, I'm going to guess, for at least a year and maybe even longer than that. But again, I just wanted to thank the community, especially all the volunteers for putting in the hours that they did. I didn't bring any statistical data with me tonight, but does anybody have any questions before we move to the presentation?
On this subject?
Any subject. I'll feel free to answer anything. Go ahead. I wasn't happy with the Chiefs' performance yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs. They looked very sad. But yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
I think you had the 26 calls from Wonder Valley, low number relatively. And I think it has to do with the attitude that Wonder Valley has, or the experience, that the people don't come out, or very late. And I myself recently had an occasion to call 911, and I was threatened. My life was threatened. I was in the car. The person was in the car trying to come at me with the car. I went over the berm, and then he followed me. So I called 911, and they said that the sheriff's department would come out. I knew exactly where I was, and not going home, but because he was still there, and I asked her to stay on the phone. I waited an hour. By that time it was dark, and I felt like by that time I could have been killed in a shaft, in a mine shaft. So I don't know whether the dispatch gave the wrong address because she asked me also for my home address. That could be miscommunication. When I got home, I got a call from the sheriff's department, and they said they couldn't find me. So it is maybe somebody who hasn't been out to Wonder Valley before, and perhaps part of the training of that people should be to visit a couple of times. It's a huge area, but to get familiar. And it was a road that does have a sign. Some roads don't have a sign. So that is another suggestion to improve the connection with the sheriff's department when there's really need.
Well, thank you. And I can't speak to that specific example. I mean, we do have limited resources. We do prioritize our calls. So I don't know what was going on at that point in time. So I don't know what priority they gave that, although it would concern me that if you got ran off the road and the person was still there with you the whole entire hour.
Followed me, and I stopped at the neighbor's house, honked the horn to get a response. He didn't come out for whatever reason, and he then moved parallel to me, and I've never seen a face so distorted with hate and anger. And I shared that with the dispatch, and the dogs in my car started barking, so she may not have understood everything. I were understaffed and there's always something else going on. But, when I was told that they couldn't find me, that's,
Well, I'll work on that. Actually, it's kind of perfect timing because I have a staff meeting tomorrow with my people. So in situations like that, again, I don't know what happened, because if we can't find you, our normal practice is to call you on your cell phone and say, hey, well, we can't find you, where are you? Or we can't find you, can you give us directions to your house? So again, I can't speak to your specific case. It sounds like it was probably something that happened when I was gone, but I will address the general issue tomorrow. As for, are 911 still going through you guys off a cell phone? And there is that unfortunate sometimes disconnect. If you call 911 from a cell phone, as a general rule, it goes to CHP and then they route the call to us. I think the phone companies are working on changing that, where it will go directly to that jurisdiction's agent, but or agency, but I don't know that that is fully on board yet. So that, not making excuses, but that could have been one of the issues as well, that it went to CHP, who then notified us. But somebody should have at least called you.
the sheriff's department got on your call, they will be out. If I could have your card, I will go and pick up the record of it. So.
There would be, I didn't bring a card with me tonight. You can always call, or you can just, you don't need, I mean, I'll be happy to give it to you. I've got one out in the car, but you can just show up at the station and they can give you that call. And it will explain to you what we did. And then while you're there, ask for me and we might be able to get you some answers. Anyone else? Okay, this evening I have the juvenile officer for the city of 29 Palms, Deputy Dominic. He's got a presentation on bullying that I'll just turn the mic over to him.
Hello, if I could just get the lights, please, because it looks to be a little, there we go. Yeah, if everybody can see that, is that okay? Yeah. Perfect. All right, so I'm Deputy Dominic. I work for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, Morongo Basin Station. Just a little background, I've been working patrol for 5 years in the city of 29 Palms. And right now I'm the juvenile officer for the city of 29 Palms, and I've been doing that for about a year and a half. So today I'm here to talk about bullying prevention. I was tasked with putting together this PowerPoint. A lot of it is from information I gathered from outside resources. Other stuff is from my own personal experience with juveniles within the community. Next slide. Oh, there we go. So what is bullying? Bullying is unwanted aggressive behavior among school-aged children. The behavior can be repeated over time, and the bullying child being bullied may cause serious life-lasting problems. There are 4 specific types of bullying that I'm going to talk about today. As you can see, there's verbal, social, physical, and cyber. Verbal bullying is a way of saying and or writing mean things. This includes, but is not limited to, teasing, name-calling, inappropriate sexual comments, taunting, and threatening to cause harm. Social bullying is most commonly referred to as relational bullying and involves hurting someone's reputation or relationships. This includes, but is also not limited to, leaving someone out on purpose, telling other children not to be friends with somebody, spreading rumors about someone, or embarrassing them in a public place. Physical bullying involves hurting a person's body or possessions. This can include hitting, kicking, pinching, spitting, tripping, pushing, taking or breaking someone's things, or making mean or rude hand gestures. One of the biggest ones we're dealing with right now is cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is the use of information and communication technologies to support deliberate, repeated, and hostile behavior by an individual or group that is intended to harm others. This includes cell phones, home-based computers, video games, iPads and iPods, Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram, among others. Some other types of bullying that I can touch on are teen dating violence. This occurs when you have two individuals that are in or were in a relationship, and once they get out of that relationship, things start to fall apart, and then they decide to hate each other. You also have hazing. It's the use of embarrassing and often dangerous or illegal activities by a group to initiate new members. Gang violence, which is aggression within or between gangs. We don't have too much of that up here. I would say hardly at all. We also have harassment. Creates a hostile environment, often leaves a child with no choice but to submit to bullying. And there's also stalking. It's following a person, damaging a person's property, or making harassing threats, phone calls, or emails and text messages. So now we'll touch on children involved in bullying. The kid who bullies, they're often physically strong. They may not follow the rules. They act before thinking of consequences, and they may become a bully because they've been bullied themselves, most often coming from the home. You also have children that are being bullied. These children show signs of being quiet and shy. They have few friends. They find it hard to stand up for themselves. They start to think that they deserve to be bullied after a long period of time. So who to notify if you're a victim of bullying? Students need to notify their parents. When they get home from school and one kid said a bad name to them, it's a good idea for these students to open up to their parents and for the parents to have that open relationship with their child. Another good idea for parents to talk to their children about is to notify school staff. Your child comes home, your child says, hey, this kid picked on me today, he stepped on my paper, or he broke my cell phone. It's a good idea for the parent to maybe go and talk to the principal, the teacher, a counselor, so that way the school is notified of the issue. That goes along with parents need to notify school staff. Parents need to notify law enforcement if needed. If they feel that, over the last couple of weeks their son or daughter has been coming home with bruises on their arms or legs, it's probably a good idea to contact us, let us do our investigation, go to the school, talk to the child or other children that are involved. That way we can open up an investigation on it. And then obviously if school staff notices it while they're on the campus, they're going to notify parents and the involved students' parents to let them know, hey, this is what happened. You may not be aware of it, but we've noticed it, and now we're going to get you guys involved and let you know what we're going to do about it. So if you're a witness to bullying, say you're on a school campus, you're out in town at the local Food for Less or Stater Brothers or the community center, and you see one kid or a group of kids picking on one particular kid, keep all involved children separate. Get the story from all involved parties. Listen without blaming, so don't show any necessary bias towards one kid or the other. And don't immediately call the act bullying while trying to understand what happened. A lot of times if you separate the kids and you single one out and you talk to them and then you leave, then that child feels that they were left alone and that they're the ones that were at fault and why the whole incident happened in the first place. So how does law enforcement become involved? Typically we're notified by school staff about bullying incidents. A lot of the times what we see in Yucca Valley and 29 Palms and Joshua Tree County area is Penal Code 415. Now 415 is a wide range of different codes that has a lot of subsections that we can use in order to enforce the bullying issue. So if say two kids are fighting on campus, one kid's calling another kid a name. Well, once he uses any obscene or profane language, then that's something that we can advise the kid on and say, hey, you need to stop this right now, or if it continues, then we're going to give you a citation for Penal Code, which is 415.5, which is using profane language on school grounds. There's also 653.2, so as of 2012, it became a misdemeanor to commit cyberbullying. So if your child, if you monitor their Facebook, their Instagram, their Snapchat, MySpace, if that's still around, and you see that one kid is making fun of them all the time by saying racial slurs or sexual biases, anything along those lines, if we're made aware of it and we can collect the necessary evidence and information, then it is a misdemeanor to commit that crime. There's also education code in the state of California, 48900. That gives school administration the power to suspend a student for bullying. So if they don't want to get us involved and say, hey, we want this kid arrested for a misdemeanor, we want him to have a ticket, and we want him to go home, well, another way, or a tool that we can use and the school staff can use, is to suspend them for 3 to 5 days, so that way they learn their lesson. So, excuse me. So when we're called, we're going to identify who's involved. You have 2 kids involved, you have 10 kids involved. We're going to sit there and we're going to interview every single child that's involved with it, so that way we can get to the bottom of it. Most of the time when we deal, I would say all the time that we deal with a bullying issue, we're going to actually call every parent that's involved, whose child is involved, and we're going to hold a conference with them. So that way I can talk to the parent and I can talk to the child, and that way the point gets across to the child and the parent that it's not going to be tolerated. And that falls in line with, explain the consequences for bullying and provide information on how to get help. Some ways, if you have a student that is acting out so much and he's aggressive, he or she's aggressive, then we have the juvenile intervention program within our department that we put on. And that basically is, you're not sending a kid to jail, but it's a program that's enforced to where they get to spend a whole day at one of our adult prison or adult county jails down in San Bernardino or Atalano, and they can see what real life is like inside of a jail. Sometimes that could get the point across. There's mental health facilities, and then there's also juvenile probation. So how do we reduce it? We address the behaviors, we set clear and enforceable rules, we reward positive behavior, we keep open communication, and we monitor hotspots within the community. So if we have one general area, say a community center, there's a lot of problems with one group of kids gets to play on the playground, the other group doesn't, then we're going to address that with those kids, saying, hey, why are you kids over here? Why do they get to play on the playground? Is there an issue of they only get a certain time to play there, or what the problem is? So we try to go to all the places. My partner, Shauna Abels, she's the juvenile officer for Yucca Valley. We try to go out as much as we can to try to alleviate those kind of situations and problems. My resource, primarily for this PowerPoint, was from stopbullying.gov. There's such a huge variety of information that you can get from that website. So if you're having problems with your son or daughter at school, within the community, definitely check out that website, especially if you're a parent. It gives a lot of great information. So, together, as you can see, we can all stop bullying. It's unnecessary. Our kids don't need to be exposed to it. And we need to make it a better place for them to live and grow up. So there's our contact information. Like I said, I'm Deputy Eric Dominic. And my partner, Shauna Abels, she's the Yucca Valley Juvenile Officer. Those are our email addresses if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns. And then also provided the phone number for the Morongo Unified School District if anybody has any questions for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a few minutes if we might take in some questions.
Sure, no problem. Anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
My granddaughter was in school here. Under that 48900, there was an altercation at the school. She got suspended. She didn't start it. I went to the school. I told them there's going to be an altercation on the bus. Well, I'm sorry. That bus, the girl that goes on that bus doesn't go to our school. And consequently, the young girl got beat up the next day. And I think this 48900 is a bunch of poop because it punishes the kids that weren't doing this.
Right.
I ended up taking my granddaughter out of school.
Okay, I don't know the whole totality of that situation, unfortunately. That's an education code within the state of California that school staff can use. So it's up to their discretion on enforcing that particular law. As far as the sheriff's department goes, we can't enforce it, only the school staff, because it's obviously for suspension, and we can't suspend a child.
Well, we seem to do that across the board. If there's any altercation, everybody's suspended.
Okay.
There's no investigation. And I don't think that's right.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I don't know the totality of the circumstances there. I mean, if it was a group of kids, maybe that was seen by school staff. They had the yard narcs saying, hey, there's these 5 kids involved, and then the principal's just going to say, all right, I'm going to suspend all 5 of you because you were all involved in being pointed out as being involved. So other than that, I don't know what else the situation would have entailed. Yes, sir.
Hi. I know that the impetus for this, for inviting you all here and asked to speak about bullying, came from Elizabeth Carmen, who's not here tonight. Unfortunately, she had unexpectedly wasn't able to attend. But Dr. Carmen, her husband, is a local psychologist, and they have seen in their practice a number of children coming in who are suffering the effects of being bullied. And I mean, looking out in this room, I see probably a lot of empty nesters who don't have kids or no longer have kids, school-age kids, who come home. And I think the effects are traumatic if you have a kid who's being tormented at school. And when you're that age, it takes over your life. And I'm just wondering what, and I'm not coming from this area, but having the opportunity to get to know people here, it seems like there's a lot of fighting in the schools here. I'm just curious about the experience of the Sheriff's Department. Do you get calls? And another part of that is that a lot of times the victim is intimidated not to report. And I just wonder about if you have any sense of what kind of levels of victimization are going on locally in that sense.
I would say in our area, I mean, like I said, I've been up here for 6 years on patrol. I would say we have a very low level of fighting in schools. Generally, the only fighting that we'll see is when a new student comes from out of town and he's trying to fit in, and other students see him as an outcast, so then they start treating him like that. But other than that, I mean, it's generally low as far as fighting goes among the kids. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
You say there's no gangs up here? Because I don't hear that from the young people on the street.
Well, it's hard to define what an actual gang is. Some kids that are coming from different areas within California or within the United States, they may think that they were from a gang over there, but they don't really know what a gang is because they're wearing colors just because Tupac is wearing it, and so they're trying to fall in lines with that, because in California, to constitute as a gang, there are a lot of different characteristics that they have to meet in order to be considered one. So, I mean, it's just a lot of the youth today, they're calling themselves a gang when in reality they're not. They're basically a group of kids wearing the same colors, hanging out together, saying that, oh, we're going to threaten these kids over here. And up here, I really have not seen it at all, as far as juveniles go.
Okay, I don't think it's juveniles, because one of their indoctrinations is rape, so.
Okay. Yeah,
Sounded pretty serious to me, and that's the word out among the 20-year-olds that this is going on.
okay. Yes, sir.
How would you categorize graffiti?
Graffiti can come in all kinds of shapes, forms, sizes, colors.
I mean, as far as relative to gangs.
Right. It can come in come into all kinds of different shapes, colors, writings, pictures, names. Gang graffiti, like when you drive down to Los Angeles and you're driving in the downtown area and you see a bunch of it in one particular spot. 9 times out of 10, that's probably a gang because they're trying to show their turf. Up here in this area, you're not really seeing that much at all because it's such a small community. If you're seeing one person tag the side of a building, it's hard for us to prove because there's only going to be one person involved with it because they learned it down in, say, Los Angeles area, and they're bringing it up here. We have to figure out who just came up into this area from Los Angeles to pinpoint who it is.
A while back, I did see it in Yucca Valley, the west side of Yucca Valley.
Yes, no, there is graffiti out there. It's been something that's been coming up sporadically throughout the town of Yucca Valley. Each time that it does come up, we're dealing with it with added patrol hours so we can find out who did it. Yeah, and there's also, I mean, you have tagging and then you also have gang graffiti. So gang graffiti, you're going to have a group of names that are on a wall. So it's going to be like 10 names. They're going to have a huge writing of what their gang name is. Tagging is going to be kids, you know, drawing pictures that 14-year-olds would draw, or writing words that 14-year-olds would write. And then they would just do it in various areas, like at the Yucca Valley Community Center, for example, at the tables under the cabana there. These kids were just writing, you know, slanders towards other people. As far as gang graffiti goes, it's classified as gang, as I mentioned, when you have a lot of names mentioned, or drawn or written, plus the name of the gang, and then where they're from. So there's a lot of different identifiers for gang graffiti. And like I said, it has been seen up here. Even recently it has. It comes up sporadically, so it's not all the time. So I think we're seeing a lot more of the tagging, which is the kids drawing pictures of funny stuff. Yes, sir.
I pastor a church out in Wonder Valley, and our church sign was tagged, but not by pictures like that. There were satanic symbols, 666s, all kinds of satanic symbols with bright red paint. So I immediately went and washed it off and cleaned it off. But so that would seem to me to be not just kids, but there are other types of things going on out there. And so that's probably tagging. But just that is not just innocent pictures, because these are clearly satanic symbols.
Right, and I kind of I'm not familiar with that situation, but I know what kind of pictures you're referring to. Like I said, I've seen kids do it right in front of me while I'm in a detective ride with tinted windows, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, and I'm doing surveillance. They're doing it right in front of me, and they're drawing the funny things like that. You know, if you're also seeing it, you said in Wonder Valley, okay, in that area, I wouldn't think it was kids, because there aren't many in that part of out of Wonder Valley, excuse me. It may be someone that's just basically tagging, so it's not going to be anything gang affiliated. It's going to be someone displaying their beliefs, which obviously sound a little erratic, but I mean, it's not something that should be put up on display for the public to see.
And since it hasn't happened again, I thought it could have been someone who was just passing through, maybe not an actual resident.
Right. I mean, especially in somewhere in Wonder Valley, if it's something like that, we might be able to pinpoint exactly who it is. And that's why it's imperative for people to call the sheriff's department and let us know, like, hey, there's tagging on this wall. I know it's nothing major, but once we get that call for service, we get it documented on our end, and then we can start looking into, okay, it was in this neighborhood, and this neighborhood. It's all the same. So now we need to put a focus on one of these three neighborhoods and figure out who's doing it.
So it's probably a good idea to even take a picture of it and save it.
Sure, absolutely. When I'm responding to calls for service for graffiti, I tell people all the time, you know, they'll call us and say, I'm sorry, I washed it off, but this is what it looked like. Well, it's best to have a picture, and then if you want to wash it off, that's fine, as long as we can have a photo of it to put in as evidence, so that way we can refer back to it later on.
I'm going to jump in here, Tom, if that's okay. And, you know, that is actually two very good points, and I would encourage you to, one, report it when you see it, and then two, get it off as soon as you can. And they will probably come back and re-graffiti it, and then do the same thing and get it off as soon as you can. When it comes to tagging and graffiti, it really is a war of attrition. And who is going to wear the other person down first? Because especially the taggers, which that's the biggest group that we have up here, people wanting to get famous, even within their own little clique, if you will, where we may not. It may take us a while to identify who it is, but them and their friends know who it is. Oh, they did this. So if they start putting their name on a place and you don't, it's on your property, and you don't take it off, I guarantee you they're going to come back and do it again and do it again and do it again. But if you take it off and they put it back up, and you take it off and they put it back up, eventually they're going to get tired, because they want their stuff staying out there. And they will get tired, and they will move from your property maybe to somebody else. And then ultimately it will stop altogether. I mean, that's kind of the whole idea behind Neighborhood Watch too, You know, so I would encourage you, if that happens, call us, let us get photos, and get it off of there immediately. And then that will, again, move them along the road.
Time for 2 more questions.
Sure.
Well, that killed that.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Next item on the agenda, and I want to hand it over to Mark Lundquist for that, who chairs our Committee on Land Use Services. But before that, I know that most of you are here you're quite interested in the Altamira project, and after the agenda was published, I heard from the developers who came, and they have a short 10-minute presentation that they promised will answer a lot of questions. So I think that folks will be interested in hearing from that. And if you're ready, we have John Christ, thank you, who was here in 2009 in the hot seat and was brave enough to come back. So thank you for coming. What do you need? It's Joseph. Yeah. Tell us when you're ready, we'll hit the lights.
Okay. Just hitting one of them. There, got one.
You raise it so everyone in the back can see.
Yep.
And it's crooked.
How's that? Closer. Good? Testing 1, 2. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is John Christ. I'm with a planning firm in Palm Desert, Terra Nova Planning and Research. I've been a private sector planner for over 30 years. And some of you probably were in this room, I guess, a few years ago when we were invited to present this project to the MAC, and we got an earful from you. And we have spent a lot of time working with taking into consideration the input we got from you folks, also from the county staff we've been working with for some time, planning staff, public works staff, and we have made some substantial changes to this project in the course of that effort. I'm going to grab my notes here for a minute. The Altamira project is located, as most of you probably know, at the northwest corner of Sunny Vista Road and Alta Loma. This is the Friendly Hills Elementary School. This is the highway, of course, Highway 62, 29 Palms Highway. And you can see the residential development pattern that's occurred over the last 5 or 6 decades there. The site is 105 acres. You can see that there are several, in fact, I'm going to get out of the way here if I can. There are several drainages passing through this area, and some major ones over here and also to the west. This drainage is one that we've had to accommodate. There's a drainage coming down through here, and also one through this area that the Public Works Department has asked us to address with hard facilities, if you will. And of course, we have the Friendly Hills project, Friendly Hills Elementary School, which is essentially excavated into the slope so that they had a flat site to build on. This is a shot of the county zoning map. The county combines the general plan land use and zoning into a single map. Again, this is the project. These are, I think, federal lands, and this is the various land use designations. And again, here is Highway 62, which is about a half a mile north of the site. The subject property is designated RS, which is single family residential, and in many of these designations there's a suffix for the minimum lot size that is permitted. The minimum lot size, yes. Again, here is the zooming in on this. This is Sunny Vista in Alta Loma. You'll notice that this designation is single family 10,000 square foot lot minimum. And this is specific to Joshua Tree, hence the JT. This is part of a larger area designated 10,000 lot minimum for residential development and higher density along the highway. There's also 14,000 square foot minimum lots in this area. There are larger lots here, of course, and there is a subdivision that's partially built out right here that is also building out at 10,000 square foot lots. The proposed project is also for 10,000 square foot lots. Also, RS development occurs in this area as well. These are minimum lots of 7,200 feet. I mentioned there's a couple of drainages. As a part of our application, we have to request what's it called, a stream bed alteration agreement from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and those streams have been delineated by the research and analysis done by our biologist. This is a major drainage, as you can see, and these are the smaller ones I pointed out earlier. This is the current state of the subdivision, proposed subdivision, and this is the one that is being processed now by the county. As I mentioned, the property is 105 acres. Here's the Friendly Hills Elementary School. In order to accommodate drainage, we have proposed what are hardened facilities, essentially, to intercept this drainage, which is just running between a couple of houses right now. We pick it up and channel it through. Same with this drainage along Alta Loma, where there is a potential for sheet flooding there. Right now, you'll see that the road department has just bermed up along both sides of the road to keep the road clear until major events occur. Also, since the sheet flows come from the south, this area is able to intercept flows and then channel them into a basin, and then they go under an underground pipe and into yet another basin, and then discharge into a county drainage easement, which exists here. We have This area here is essentially open space which would remain pretty much as it is, maybe with some minor landscape enhancements. This also is about 3 acres that would be left in its current state, maybe with some landscape wildlife enhancement also. There's a major entry is off of Sunny Vista. There are 2 entrances also off of Alta Loma, and an emergency access into and out of Sunburst, but just for emergency purposes. There's also, as you all know better than me, there's a water quality problem, also a water supply problem that's been partially addressed or is being addressed by groundwater recharge, and also that groundwater is being affected by on-lot septic tanks. It's a shallow basin, so septic tanks are increasing the nitrate levels, and we've had quite a few discussions with the Regional Water Quality Control Board about how do we address this. And one of the ways that we, through a lot of research and a lot of consulting with engineers and with the water district, is what's called a package plant. This is the site of a proposed wastewater treatment plant. The entire project would, effluent from the project is designed to flow down to and into this facility, which can be built incrementally. Water is treated to a level acceptable to the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and then is re-injected into the groundwater and can be used again. I might add that this project started in its planning about 2006. We got involved late 2006. The original project proposal was for about 336 units, which was a density of about 3.34 units to the acre. This final design is 248 residential lots, which is about 2.36 units to the acre. The minimum lot size is 10,000 square feet. The average lot size is about 11,200 plus feet. That's the average. And the largest lots are about 22,000 square feet, almost a half acre. They're primarily these cul-de-sac lots, larger cul-de-sac lots. This is just a zooming in on some of these facilities. This is channel would eventually have a culvert of some sorts here that would pipe under the road, intercept the storm flows, and then channel these down through the project and into a basin that is essentially a weir. And if you don't know what a weir is, it's like a basin with a horizontal lip that runs along the entire area that is at the same elevation, so that when it fills up, it goes over like an infinity pool. It just goes over along the entire length and goes back to what is roughly the natural condition of the channel. As I mentioned earlier, this is the northeast portion of the project. Open space areas, main entrance, community center. The community center is about an acre, 0.99 acres. We're planning a 2,000 square foot community clubhouse, large pool, open space, including a playground for kids, and then parking and lots of bike racks as well, jacuzzi, etc. So we'll come back to that for speaking purposes if there are questions. As I mentioned, there are a couple of entrance points off of Alta Loma. In the near term, they would be in and out, but as traffic increases, they will become exit-only facilities. This is the Alta Loma cross-section, and just to orient you, this is the cross-section. The center line of the road would be right about here, and we're looking east. So the county calls for 2 lanes in each direction when Alta Loma builds out in the future. Then we have a sidewalk and landscaping. Then we have this linear facility that intercepts sheet flows, as they come across the road, they get captured and intercepted in this channel, which flows back to the, let me just quickly show you. That's this location here, and these flows flow then into this channel this way. And there's a detail of that. Also, an important part of this is, as you folks who may live up in that area, the ground slopes from south to north towards the highway. And a lot of what drives designing a subdivision like this is grading and drainage and being able to channel flows, not only drainage flows, but effluent from wastewater to a treatment plant or a treatment location. And as a consequence, what we've designed is we've added to essentially this cross section. The right-of-way for the street ends here, so this would be the end of the right-of-way. But we've added, as I mentioned, this intercept channel and another pathway that would be a compacted gravel path. So we've got two trails essentially on along Alta Loma there. And then it slopes down substantially with a couple of retaining walls, and then this is the base elevation of this lot number 250. So as a consequence, you have quite a elevation difference, which makes standing on this area or above on Alta Loma on the south side, looking over pretty much the first row of houses. This is the design for the main entrance. We'll probably want to have some kind of main monument signage right in this area here. This is proposed to be a gated community, and the reason for that is for two reasons. One is to control the way people get in and out of the project, so we can control the effect they're having on the local streets, and also to avoid cut-through traffic, people just wandering through the project and cutting through for convenience sake. It has quite a bit of stacking distance. This is 140 feet right here, so you can see that there's a lot of room for stacking. It'll have decorative paving and nicely landscaped. This is a typical of the interior street. All the streets are interior to the project are 42 feet from right-of-way, cross right-of-way. That allows us to provide 5-foot sidewalks on both sides of the street, on all the streets inside the project, so there'll be no walking in the street necessary, and it'll be safe for kids and other residents. This cross-section is Sunny Vista, and this cross-section is looking north, so you'd be looking up towards the highway. We also, again, have some grade change here and a meandering sidewalk that would go up and down along the entire frontage of the project. And you can see that the county is planning for 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction on Sunny Vista as well. Here's a detail of that. You can see this is taken from the tract map. A lot of concern has been expressed about traffic, and there's some misinformation we've already heard some of, and this table is from the latest update to the traffic study, which was in 2013, and it analyzed all the intersections that the county felt might be impacted by the project. This was also reviewed by not only the transportation folks at the county, but also by Caltrans and even the town of Yucca Valley, because there was 1 or 2 intersections that they wanted us to look at. Real quickly, a couple of points I'd like to show, points of access I'd like to point out is this is Sunny Vista Road, and this is the project access we just looked at a little bit ago. Note that this is for the year 2035. This is with the project, And this includes traffic not only on the roads now from the school and from other sources, but development that's expected to occur between now and 2035. These are looking at intersections, and the intersection is usually the toughest place to deal with traffic. And these are seconds of delay that an average vehicle would have at a given intersection, how long you'd have to wait to get through the intersection. And we have, of course, all the way into Pioneer Town Road and 29 Palms in Yucca Valley, down to right adjacent to the project site. We've also got Torres Avenue, which is just west of Sunny Vista, and a couple of other points. Probably the most of interest and mention has been made is the access drive, and these are peak morning and peak evening. So this is the highest volume of traffic that would occur during those periods. And it shows that the wait time for a vehicle trying to get out of the Altamira project in the morning would be about 16 seconds. And that's based on the amount of traffic that the analysis shows is going up and down that street. And in the evening, it's about 13.3 seconds. I'm looking for Sunny Vista at Alta Loma, that is this area here. This is a three-way stop right now. All AWS is always stop, and it's a three-way intersection. And here, during the peak hour, a typical wait for the morning is about 19 seconds, and in the evening is 8.7 seconds. And again, that's in that time period. So there is very limited impact, and part of that's because of the still low levels of development and the high capacity on the roadway at build out. This is with future improvements that are planned by the county. Although it's not required as a consequence of our project, there is going to be a need in the future for an intersection at 29 Palms Highway. Although the delays here are not great, there are other reasons why a traffic signal is needed, and the traffic engineer has given a list of what the improvements need to be and what they're going to cost and what the share of this project would be to make it possible for those to be constructed. The shot on the left is pretty typical of what it will look like along Sunny Vista headed down towards the highway. Sidewalk, a slight slope, and then a privacy wall. And then interior to the project, the project steps down. Instead of creating large flat pads, we've stepped the subdivision so that as you go south or north, it's stepping down. So there are some places where there are slopes. And this is a typical kind of treatment that can be used on the slope. But also retaining walls are possible if people want to capture back maybe a little more yard area. This is also a typical kind of desert landscaping that we'll be applying throughout the project.
Grass is a desert landscape.
I'll speak to that in a minute. Here's a couple views of the site now. This is pretty typical. It's got yuccas and cacti and Joshua tree. Most of the Joshua tree are pretty small, and we're not entirely sure why. There are some areas where there are larger ones, but these will also make it possible to be more successful in transferring Joshua trees, because we intend to, in fact, we're going to be required to, as grading proceeds on each phase, is to capture the Joshua trees, yuccas, anything we can, put into a nursery on site, maintain them, and then reintroduce them back into the landscape as the site is landscaped. Also, I threw this up because this is a small couple pages of a design guidelines that we have developed for the project that will apply to every phase of the project. So this isn't just going to be the minimum standards that the county may have, but it's going to have guidelines that are going to address all sorts of things, including, for instance, these use of open fencing along, for instance, Alta Loma, where we have basins and slopes that we should be able to see through, and essentially keep from having too many walls and giving more views into the project. This is just another page showing development standards that come out of the county zoning ordinance. Also, the project, as all projects now need to be, sustainable is the buzzword of the day, but you know, every development, all our homes and all our businesses should be sustainable. We're going to be applying and are required to apply minimum standards, but a lot of the standards we're going to be applying will go beyond the state's Title 24 energy guidelines, and in some cases, well, in a lot of cases will be 15% better, and in some cases 20% better than the state requirement. This next few slides shows you a manual that we developed for residential and commercial development, and we'll be providing a copy of that as part of the development scenario. Okay. It's addressing different aspects of the project, and that'll make sure that the project's especially energy efficient. The project will be, we want everyone to be entirely desert landscaping, and so the design standards call for drought-tolerant landscaping throughout the project, including the materials that we're retrieving from the project as we start grading. The one concession to that is that people can have up to 200 square feet of turf in their backyard if they really want to, but we're going to try to encourage that they not do that. And the following are just some examples of the kind of yards that we're going to be encouraging, the kind of plant materials to use. Also, this isn't going to be a typical tract house kind of development. We're going to be encouraging the use of all kinds of different architecture so that it looks more like a regular neighborhood instead of a developed tract. This particular slide is something that the Joshua Basin Water District and some others helped put together, and just shows you how we can get a really attractive look and still have a highly desirable neighborhood. I have a lot more I could say, but I think the applicant, Ron Schwartz, wanted to just add a word if he could. And Ron, are you here? Yes. And then I think we'll take questions and want to note down what your comments are and then get out of your hair.
Thank you, John. I hate to hurry you up.
Thank you, John. I'll be very short. I think that John provided you with a pretty good outlook of what we're trying to accomplish with the Altamira project. I wanted to just give you a little bit of background of how we got to the point of where we are today. We have spent a considerable amount of time and effort to create a project that we think will enhance what the community, when you look at this project in years to come and it's completed, we think it's going to be an enhancement to the valley, to the Joshua Tree area. As we look upon this project and we go back to, as John was pointing out, 2006, we made a tremendous effort, even from the very outset, to communicate with individuals in the community to find out what some of their concerns were, and we feel that we've come a long way in addressing many of those concerns. Back in 2006 or 2007, we had our first opportunity to meet with a couple of the members of the MAC committee. I think it was Mickey Luckman and Bonnie Cuff at that point in time. They provided us with indication of some of the things that they wanted us to take into consideration, one of which John was talking a little bit about the situation with the Joshua trees, and what we have learned is that to the extent that we are able to salvage as many of those Joshua trees, we're going to incorporate them into the natural landscape. We will do so. We're taking it upon ourselves to meet with the individuals that we think are the most learned in this area with respect to restoration of Joshua trees, and that would be the folks over at the Joshua Tree National Park. and we're looking for input and ways to accomplish as well as we possibly can, incorporating into our development those trees and salvaging. So we've taken from 2006, the first meeting with the MAC, 2009. We heard other comments. We heard some comments primarily after the meeting from individuals in the community who said, look, one of the things that we're looking for is creation of jobs. In the meeting itself, there was indication that, what can you do? What can you do to, if you're going to be building this project out, what can you do to assist us here in this community? At that point in time, the economy was in a sad state of condition. Today, it's improved somewhat. But a couple of things that I want to point out to you is, number one, there was a concern raised about what our involvement, when I say our involvement, I am one of the managing members. The development team of this project is going to remain involved with the project, and it's done for a number of different reasons. Number one, we have invested over $3.5 million cash into this property to date. $3.5 million. From a practical standpoint, in order to be able to move this project forward and to develop it out, we recognize that we have to, number one, overcome the concerns that you're expressing, that the county has indicated, standards that have to be met. More, perhaps as significantly as that, we should also understand that what ultimately has to happen to build a project like this out, you have to be able to satisfy the lender that will be providing us with the opportunity to build the project out. It's going to require us to stay involved simply because the front end of the project is very expensive when you're talking about putting the infrastructure in, the drainage, the package plant. And by the way, that package plant is something that is a natural step forward for the community. Eventually, you'll have a sewage treatment plant here in Joshua Tree. Probably many, many years off, but our project is being designed so that we can take the existing sewer plant that will handle the sewer conditions for our property and be able to incorporate it into a larger plant when that time comes. So this is something where we're not talking about septic, where we go well beyond the standards that existed for handling sewage with respect to a septic situation, and it's a positive in that respect as well. I know that tonight one of the big concerns that was expressed, and perhaps one of the primary reasons for being here, is there was concern expressed about rushing, rushing this thing through. And I can assure you, nobody is rushing anything through. We've given this a lot of time, a lot of energy, and to the extent that we understand that many of you or the MAC itself may not have been apprised of what's going on, albeit that there were comments that came back to us from the county from the middle part of August. We're not looking to push anything through, okay? If the additional month is what you feel is appropriate, we have no problem providing the additional month. If the intention of that additional month is for there to be constructive discourse, any way we can communicate, any way you can provide your thoughts, we'd be happy to listen to anything that is constructive and will assist us in moving this project forward. Yeah, can I make one additional point? Sure. I know that the other thought has come up repeatedly. David has mentioned it in the past on a couple of occasions where we're talking about environmental impact report. And what we want those of you in the audience to know is that the studies that have been done on this project are exactly those studies that you would take a look at in doing a focused environmental impact report. You're not going to, what ultimately may happen is you address concerns, and if somebody feels that there's a particular issue that needs to be addressed more carefully, well, let's take a look at those issues, and let's do it at this point in time, because the reports, when we've done the traffic studies, we've done all of these other reports, that's what ultimately is going to come out of all of this anyways. Those are the same studies that we're talking about, in the environmental impact report. So I want to make that apparent to you as well. Thank you.
Okay, I know we're all here and there's a lot of passionate concern about this, but I want to try to separate the comments from the questions. Okay, all the people that have filled out blue cards for comments, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of your own comments, so let's do that. We're going to take only 10 questions, and I'm sure a lot of the questions would be duplicates of one you were going to ask, and then we're going to go on to the comments. Okay, you're number one.
My question to
Yeah, if you're gonna have a question, take the podium so we can hear you, please. Thank you.
Hear me? All right. Julian Gonzalez, my question for the developers is there going to be a homeowners association for this project? One of my concerns would be that if the project is developed, what's the assurance that all the great things that John said are going to continue throughout? So that's basically my question.
Thank you. The answer to that question is yes. One of the managing members of our team is a attorney down in the Palm Desert area, Wayne Gralnick. He does about 70% of the homeowners associations down there. We have every intention of setting high standards and to continue the high standards from throughout the entire project. As I indicated, we're going to be there. By the way, from the inception, we'll follow this project and be involved throughout. The size of the houses, I know, was an issue that came up before, the feasibility. We're talking about houses that will probably today, based upon today's economy, start at about 1,400 square feet and get up to perhaps as high as 2,000 square feet. Will run in a price range of below $200,000 and probably get up into the mid-200s. That's what we're projecting right now. But it ultimately is going to be dependent what ultimately we're going to be doing out there. And keep in mind that all we're talking about is a tentative map process now, which basically means this is the start and the parameter. It doesn't give us any final approval to do anything. You'll see that the standards that are set by the county you'll see all the conditions of approval that the county establishes. We talk about will serve letters and things of that sort. In order for us to build this project out, we're going to have to be able to achieve all of that. So just want to point out that to you as well.
If you could just answer the question without the sales pitch.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
We're got time restraints here.
Okay.
Thank you. What I'm going to do is, why don't you stay here? I'm going to go in the audience with a microphone, so a little bit. Why don't you go ahead and stay here with the mic, and I'll go to the people with the microphone. Next question. David, who's next? You? Okay. I'll come to you.
Thank you. I have a couple of specific questions about the units themselves. I mean, you've given us a lot of information that sort of glosses over a lot of the issues that I think most people here are concerned about. But for instance, what is your anticipated average household size? How many people, for one? How much are you planning on selling each one of these units for? What's the average sales price? Who do you think your potential buyer is going to be up here for these 248 houses? You know, how about some specific information like that?
Yes, I mentioned, I think that can you hear me? I think that the average size of the houses will probably average 1,600 or 1,700 square feet. They'll start at about 1,400 square feet. They'll go for a price range from about $170,000 on up to maybe $260,000, $270,000. who's going to buy these homes. Comments we've received from individuals in your community are already telling us that people came up here and they bought homes for $350,000. Unfortunately, they're pointing out that today they're only worth half of that.
And they're all foreclosed on.
The other thing, when you're talking about the situation, you're talking about building out a project of this nature. A lender is only going to give us an opportunity to build 12 or perhaps 15 of these homes at a time. We have to be able to demonstrate right along that we're able to put individuals that are qualified buyers into these homes, or you can't move forward with the next project. People that are going to be, with today's banking regulations, people that will be buying these homes will be extremely qualified. As far as the nature of the individuals that will be moving into the homes, we view it as one in which you'll have families that will be involved, with children that will be going to Friendly Hills Elementary School and through the other school systems in the area. We think that you'll end up with empty nesters as well. And we think that it'll be a project that you'll have a myriad of individuals that have an interest in living in an environment like this. That yes.
Will these houses come with solar?
It's one of the things we can't. One of the standards that we hope to be able to impose is a lot of the things and the innovations that are being done with solar. But keep in mind that what we're talking about right now is we're going through a learning experience right now in terms of what it is that the ultimate buyer out there is going to want to see and what we're going to be able to accomplish. So to the extent that we're able to implement solar and other opportunities within these homes, yes, the answer to that question would be we would attempt to do so.
I don't know if I understood this correctly during your presentation, but it looks like you're going to capture water from the existing washes, send it down to the treatment plant, and then recycle it back to people to use. Is that correct?
No. The facilities that are in the map, the only purpose of those is to convey the water through the site without causing damage to anything.
So it'll continue to feed back to nature and the animals and everything?
And in fact, the basins have to have, were designed in a fashion that emphasizes or allows us to what's called bioremediation. So if there's any contaminants or silting or whatever, there's a time that it resides in these basins, and it allows essentially to help clean the water as it percolates into the ground.
My question is basically, have you done any surveys as to people purchasing a home in this type of a development in Joshua Tree? Most of the people here tend to want a little more anonymity. They want to fix up existing older homes or be on their own bigger lot somewhere out in the country. Most people here don't like gated communities. Have you checked into any of those things?
We've looked at that in substantial detail, and you are absolutely right that there is a tendency or a trend towards I guess open lot single family living, but there's also a demographic shift occurring and why we've gotten very positive feedback about this kind of project is for a couple of reasons. One of the markets that's been mentioned is empty nesters, people who are retiring and don't have kids anymore. They also don't want a large lot that they have to maintain and take care of. They want something smaller. People are scaling down generally. They also like the idea of being able to go away and within a homeowners association, it's easier to have the house being taken care of or watched, etc. That is a major market that we think, and also let's face it, Joshua Tree has cachet. Joshua Tree is a magical place. It is known not only in the Southwest, it's known internationally, and it's going to be attracting a real cross-section of folks.
My name is John Stannard. You made a statement during your presentation about you're going to have control of the floodwaters moving down to the lower elevations, and then it goes into a county waste easement. Very near there, we have a case which I came in contact with. They did a great job up higher up in wastewater, but down below, nothing was done at all, and this woman's road periodically disappears. And the only reason I came into contact is because she wanted to get rid of the tires that somebody had thrown into the wash. So there's a handoff here in this kind of a situation. You can say, well, the county will take care of that. Make sure the county is taking care of that. Another thing is in Santa Barbara, if we don't get an El Nino, we're not going to have any water in a year. Is the water board and the water district signing on to this really? I mean, this is a big concern.
Well, to answer your first question, the stormwater is not wastewater, it's just runoff. And the discharge cannot be any greater or any more focused than it is under natural conditions. So the whole design that we've been driven to implement is to retain as much as we can or delay the discharge off of our site in a fashion that doesn't damage downstream.
Swales?
I'm sorry?
Swales?
No swales, no. Your other question with regard to water, this essentially all drought tolerant landscaping, small lots on a per house basis, highly efficient water use in the house. We had gone through a large checklist of things that will go into all these homes to really reduce water demand. Everybody in the Southwest is in the same boat here, and the Joshua Basin water district's now getting recharge water through the State Water Project, through the Mojave Water Agency. But of course, we're, as you point out correctly, in the long term, we're all dependent upon dealing with climate change and a precipitation pattern that we can count on. And we'll hope that everybody's acting to try to address this.
Are you making use of gray water?
There is, yes, to the extent that all the wastewater will go to the treatment plant. The treatment plant will clean to at least secondary levels, and then will be injected back into the groundwater. And by the time it reaches the groundwater, it'll be the equivalent of tertiary treated water. So yes, it essentially is on a community scale, which is much more efficient than on an individual lot scale. All that turns out to be gray water going back into recharge the groundwater.
I have a couple of questions. What happens if you only sell 40 homes or something here? What happens to the land? How are you developing this as a gradual process? Where are you starting?
Yes.
That sort of thing. And then I also want to hear about the jobs that you're planning to create out of this 200 and some people that could potentially move here. What jobs are going to come out for our community permanently as a result of that?
Those are very good questions. The first question with regard to incremental development. A minimum amount of grading will occur for each phase of development. So it's only that is needed in order to implement each phase. Right now we're looking at about 10 phases, preliminary phasing plan, which would work out to about 24 to 30 lots per phase, something of that sort.
Can you show us on the map, please?
I'm sorry, sure.
Put the map up and show us what the phases are.
I don't have the phasing map in the presentation, but the phases start in, how did we get there? The phases start along this location right here, because we need to implement the wastewater treatment plant right from the beginning. So the entry, and this is the first 3 phases roughly are this area here. So let's suppose, we hope it won't happen, and I think that it's a matter of time. You know, there are many lots. Many of you folks live on lots that were subdivided many decades ago, in fact. So there's still a lot of build out to occur in Joshua Tree, but this might be, for instance, the limit of the phase line that shows up after these phases have been developed, and the rest of the land will stay in its natural condition until subsequent phases can be developed. With regard to jobs, the same principle should help. Unlike a developer who does just individual houses, might be 1 or 2 or 3 houses a year, and has a crew that hopefully he can keep fully employed, or she, this could be a 10, 15-year proposition where each phase is successful, and it's going to require good marketing, of course, and a well-designed project. But it could mean 10 or 15 years of steady jobs at the rate of maybe 15 to 20 homes, 20 to 30 homes per phase.
We've got room for one more question.
Alan Letterman, I have one question. How do you address the tortoise situation? Besides the tortoise study, which I understand you did during the winter when the tortoises were hibernating.
The tortoise survey, the first tortoise survey was done in April of 2007. Since that time, we've had 2 additional surveys conducted on the site. You are correct that a reconnaissance survey, the last reconnaissance survey, was done in December. The tortoise move. There's no doubt about it, and people who don't know tortoise are surprised sometimes by how mobile they can be. The county will condition the project that prior to each phase being started, tortoise surveys, pre-construction tortoise surveys will have to be conducted so that no impacts to tortoise occur. At this point, though, no tortoise burrows, no tortoise sign on this particular property have been found by very competent, very experienced, and of course permitted biologists.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We hope you stick around for the comment period. I think some of the cards are regarding your project. We're going to move along to the action items now, and we're going to shake it up a little bit. We're going to change the protocol to better conform with the county and boards as far as, like I say, the protocol. What we're going to do is action items. We're going to explain each one, and then we're going to ask the council for a vote on each one, or not a vote, I'm sorry, a first and a second, a motion, and then we won't vote until the comment period is over. This will help speed the process, and this is the way that most boards do it on action items. So the first item on there is number 1, discuss and consider passage of resolution number MB-MAC-007, recommending a 30-day extension for comments on the proposed Altamira housing project in Joshua Tree. And I'd like to ask the board for a motion and a second. Second? Okay, we got a first and a second. And now we'll go ahead to the comment period, and we will vote after that comment period is over. The first one up is MBCA, Morongo Basin Conservation Association rep.
This one. On, sorry. Okay, on behalf of the Morongo Basin Conservation Association, I'm the Secretary, Marina West, and we wanted to relay a message to you that is on our website, www.mb, for Morongo Basin, mbconservation.org. We have a resource tab and we have a tab called Encouraging Effective Land Use. We have posted all of the documents that MBCA was able to obtain from the county in conjunction with the current comment period. And I remind the MAC that the MBCA is frustrated that it seems to take professionals with specific expertise in land use issues to ask these specific pointed questions that lead to the documents that are part of any legal public review process. Thank you.
Thank you. Buckley? This is Buckley. That works. I do solar, and in the state of things today, solar should be a prerequisite for any new construction. It should be able to support itself without burdening the systems. And gray water should be part of that too. I would encourage any developer building new projects to look at taking the shower water and the water that can be used on the yard to water the yard, and it's very simple to do, and the state's allowing non-permitted single gray water systems without a permit for homeowners and people to use it. So it's not hard to incorporate that into the building, or at least stub out for it, so that people can do it very easily in this kind of a project. I'm really concerned about water. Cascade Solar Project went in, they said they were going to use very little water. It turned out they used 80 acre-feet on a flat piece of land. 80 acre-feet. The whole city of Joshua Tree uses 1,885 acre-feet a year on average. And a project like this, even done in small proportion, would require a lot of water for grading. And I'm really concerned about that. And the single most important thing to the people out here and the people that come here. I do vacation rentals and over and over again. And the Joshua Tree National Park studies say they come here for unobstructed views, not seeing everywhere else. They enjoy the view sheds and the openness. And I'm a contractor. I build. I understand building. I worked down in Huntington Beach. I built in Huntington Harbor for years. And this project is a beautiful thing to take down below and start doing now, because we really need to do plants like that down there now, not up here. There should be no green belts. There should be no grass. This is the desert. It's not necessary. And there are ways of doing non-waste treatment plants that copy nature. You can use biofiltration fields. They're done in New Mexico right now and have been done for 20 years. Basically, the water is captured in a line system. You just remove the leach lines, you put down a liner, you take a shower, you wash your hands, it runs out through like a riverbed system. It's all lined, no nitrates can escape. Plant your plants where you want to grow them, and when it reaches the end, it's scrubbed clean by the plants, then you pump it into your toilet and use it again. So now you're not using drinking water to flush your toilet, you're not using drinking water to water your yard. And these kind of systems could be put into something being built out here on this grand a scale. I don't like the walls, I don't like the lot sizes, although it's rated for that, and I understand that. But I think wide open spaces are important. And this many homes in a small area doesn't fit our community. Thank you. Okay, next up, Fraser, is it Haney? Thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of the Mojave Desert Land Trust tonight. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. No. All right, cool. I'm not going to use the mic then. Use the mic, would you please? Use the mic? Yeah. All right. Is this better? Yeah? Okay. So I'm sure that you're all familiar with the work that the Mojave Desert Land Trust does, and I'm just here to point out a few things that we've done historically. We were created in 2006, and one of the reasons that we were created was to help purchase open space and protect open space in and around the Morongo Basin. And since that time, we've invested over $3 million and purchased over 3,000 acres in the Morongo Basin to try and protect our open space. And the work is ongoing right now to continue to try and build protected lands around Joshua Tree National Park and connect for wildlife and wildlife habitat Joshua Tree National Park to the 29 Palms Marine Corps Base. We own a square mile of land that's just west of the project site. We call it Section 33, or the Gateway Parcel. And some of the studies that we did, we paid for during our acquisition of Section 33 and other lands in the area are published on the Morongo Basin Conservation Association's website that Marina mentioned earlier. So in our 9 years of work, we've also formed a lot of partnerships. We formed partnerships with the National Park Service and the 29 Palms Marine Corps Base and the Bureau of Land Management. And so we know that this area is not just interesting for tourists and wildlife, but it also pushes an economy, a tourist economy for the park, and the open space here is relied on for the operations out of the 29 Palms Marine Corps Base. So this community really is built on its open space. So in looking through the initial study and the 670 or so people that it's estimated to add to the local population, one of the comments is that it doesn't have a major impact on population growth in San Bernardino County, but it's almost 10% of Joshua Tree's total population in a very small area. And we're worried that the wildlife corridor that's very significant from the national park out to the marine base that we put so much work into and so many people have put so much work into is going to be affected by those 670 people driving onto Altaloma Drive and into Yucca Valley. And Altaloma is a relatively little used road right now, but to put 10% more population in a small area and run them down into Yucca Valley is going to really negatively affect that wildlife corridor. And that's not really researched in the initial study. We think that deserves a lot more looking at. And we're also recommending, because of all of our investment and our study in the area, that we do go into a full environmental impact report statement, because independent studies by themselves, not under full CEQA review, don't add up to what CEQA requires in an environmental impact report. So I want to thank you all for sitting there and listening to me so patiently. And I also just want to say thanks for all the support that all of you have given the Land Trust over the years.
Project, again, Joshua Tree has never looked for gated communities. Joshua Tree is not going to, it just doesn't want them, period. They have a cachet that isn't Joshua Tree. They have a cachet of elitist money, of people who are afraid of something or other, and we aren't in Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree's cachet is not including Dollar Generals, and it's not including gated communities. I noticed that the gated community in this initial study is very low key. In fact, it's not mentioned anywhere. I noticed the perimeter fences, well, perimeter walls were still there. The clubhouse was still there. The entrance was still there, and I figured it could be turned into a gated community in less than a month, the way it was designed, and it can. The excuses for a gated community. Now, these are pretty flimsy. Traffic control, that's okay, that's somewhat understood, but cut through. Dollar General said people were cutting across their lot to avoid the signal, which was completely untrue. Now, who in their right mind would drive through a high-density neighborhood to avoid a signal on a street that's 40, 50 miles per hour and or 55, 60 miles per hour? That is a very feeble stretch, period. $3.5 million invested in this so far. The property tax still hasn't been completely paid out. It was about a year ago, it was 110,000. It's probably, I understood it's down to 20,000 now, but there's still money to be involved. As far as for Joshua Tree, this is all outsider investment. Outsider investors, outsider designers, outsider reps, and outsider workers. We've seen what's happened in Yucca Valley. Most of the employees there who are building houses in Yucca Valley do not speak English. They come from the low desert. and that has been our experience for the last decade and a half. There's nothing in this for Joshua Tree. I hope you go and look at the YouTube video again, the YouTube video of the meeting that happened in February 19, 2009. There were a lot of good questions in that video. There were not many good answers. Joshua Tree does not want a gated community.
Alexis Sonnenfeld? Or is it Alex? Alexis, okay.
Hello, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hi, my name's Alexis, and most of you up here know me, some of you don't. Fraser kind of alluded to something that I wanted to mention tonight. I wanted to sort of address this to the developers because you know, there's so many issues with this whole development, and we could go on for days talking about the water, the traffic, the wastewater, fire, wildlife corridors, etc. And you've all heard those things, and you've all tried, I think, with good intent to address those concerns. But I don't know. You guys gave a lot of numbers, and I was a math and economics major when I was in school, and I want to throw some numbers at you guys, and I don't think this is something that you've addressed, and I don't think it's a concern that you can address at all. I don't know if anybody wants to correct me, but from the information that I gathered, the current population of Joshua Tree is approximately 7,414 people, according to the most recent census. And that the town of Joshua Tree is spread over 37.1 square miles, approximately. So that works out to a population density, on average, of about 200 people per square mile. Okay, so everybody just bear with me. There's a few numbers here. I asked the developers a question, which you didn't answer one of them, and I was asking about the average household size. And according to the census, it's a little bit under 2.5. So what that would mean is if you were building 248 houses with an average household size in San Bernardino County, specifically Joshua Tree, of 2.5 per household, you're talking about 620 people in this proposed development. Now, this proposed development is 105 acres, and that's approximately 0.17 square miles, okay? It's about a little less than a fifth of a square mile. So what essentially you guys are trying to do is you're trying to put, if you divide that number of additional people, 620 people, into the population, that's almost 10% of the total population of Joshua Tree that you are trying to put into a fifth of an acre. At the 200 person per square mile average population density in Joshua Tree, that would translate to 3,000 people in a square mile. That is not in any way going to enhance Joshua Tree. No matter what type of spin you put on it, no matter how you look at all the information that you've given us, it's essentially so wrong that it's unbelievable that you guys haven't, it appears like, even looked at this information. But and something else you said specifically, that Joshua Tree was zoned for 10,000 square feet. That's completely false. A lot of Joshua Tree above Alta Loma is RS and zone 2.5 acres. So you're proposing to put 250 houses in an already probably too dense portion of Joshua Tree that allows lots that size, and we don't have the jobs, we don't have the resources. I'm also a builder like Buck, and I'm just appalled at the lack of thought and suspension of reality that that this project is displaying, and I don't think it's going to do anything for the quality of life for most of the people that live up here. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our comment section, and we're ahead of the curve here. We have a motion and a second on the resolution MB-MAC007 for recommending a 30-day extension for comments. And at this time, I'd like to take a vote. All those in favor? All those not in favor?
Comments from the MAC.
Yes, we can take comments from the MAC first. I'm sorry. Any comments?
Deb, can you hear me? Yeah, I mean, the presentation is very slick and very professional, but I think it glosses over a lot of the questions that people in this audience have about the project and how well it fits in to Joshua Tree. And I didn't hear anybody mention or say anything about the night sky, which is extremely important to especially to Joshua Tree, because they have some of the best night skies. And I didn't hear anything about what the lighting was going to be like. And I know that in a lot of communities, they can say we're going to do one thing, and the people are going to be told to do one thing. But it doesn't always happen that way. And I'm concerned a bit about the night sky also. So I definitely think it needs to have more time for people to have their input, and I definitely think it's got to have an EIR so that we can really get the professionals who know about the environmental things that we're talking about can really have their input into an EIR on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm the one who went to the county and asked for all the support documents that were attached to this initial study. And the one that they sent us for traffic doesn't mention the school ever anywhere. So there's no school on the drawings, there's no school mentioned. So I don't understand how they can then have incorporated it into the calculations that were done.
A simple question was asked, and I'm not sure that I heard a simple yes or no, concerning the water provision. Has the water district signed on and given a will serve letter about water for the project? I'm not sure that I heard a yes or no answer.
We've gotten to it.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Thank you.
The water district's mandated to find a way to provide the water. It's not up to the water district. They're required by
Okay.
law to somehow provide the water.
We're voting tonight on a 30-day extension for the comment period, so that's the time that if you want to comment, please get with the county and give them the rest of your comments on it. And we can always invite the developers back again to answer more questions, but in the interest of time, we're going to move forward. And we had a 7-0 vote to go ahead and approve the resolution, pass the resolution, okay? So I guess since I'm doing action items on item 2, do you want me to set that up? Okay. First of all, this is item number 2 under action items. Discuss and consider passage of resolution number MB-MAC006, a joint resolution with the Basin Energy Assessment Team, which urges the Board of Supervisors to establish parameters for evaluating siting and renewable energy projects under DCREP. I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion. Your second? Okay, I don't have any comment cards on here for commenting on it. I was just going to say we've got somebody here that wants to address this. Marina? Yeah. You've been very patient, Marina, thank you.
I think I was recruited to give the report. So, Marina West, member of the MAC Basin Energy Assessment Team Subcommittee of the Morongo Basin MAC. Our group has met 3 times. We've had pretty consistent attendance. Of course, it is hard to get everybody that's interested in the same place at the same time. But we have had a lot of good conversation about the status of commercial solar projects in our basin, and a lot of folks are still, what is evident to me is folks still have a lot of questions, and a lot of folks aren't really familiar with what's going on. We also have talked about the application of and the testing of the new ordinance, and of course now the rush to cite even bigger renewable energy projects on our federal lands, of which San Bernardino County has the most federal lands of any county. So the group has 2 specific purposes in mind. First is educating our public that this is happening. This is a long-term operation. I've heard folks say, I never heard about it, and believe it or not, I bet everybody, is there anyone in the room who hasn't heard of Green Path North? So this started about 7 years ago. Green Path North is a precursor to the DRECP and some of the things that went on. So while we're sitting in meetings at things called SPARK, the county's initiative to renew the general plan with a renewable energy element, we find out that maps being used by the state have been out there since the time of Green Path North, some 7 years. So again, long-term process. Don't get lost in the weeds. And our second mission will be to review the 10,000-page DRECP document and distill it down for the public, we hope, into what it says and what it means to the Morongo Basin, so that you, the public, can provide comments that are meaningful to you in the process. Again, probably, we don't really know, we have no confirmation, but the comment period could be as short as 90 days. That's all the statutory. We have asked for a longer comment period, but we have not heard. And so tonight, the MAC Beat Ad Hoc Committee, or subcommittee of the Morongo Basin MAC, has presented for adoption this resolution, which broadly outlines the issues, seeks engagement by the entire 5 supervisors of the county, some whom many of us believe haven't heard the whole story. And without the Board of Supervisors fully engaged, then these processes will still go forward, and they will most likely have negative and unintended consequences for our Morongo Basin. So that's the purpose of tonight's resolution, is to start rattling, banging on doors on the other side of the mountain and letting them know that we care and we have things that are meaningful to say. And I'll answer any questions, Mike.
Thank you. That was an excellent introduction and overview of what this resolution is about. I don't have any questions.
Yeah, Maria, would you just read that first paragraph, the first, before the whereas it starts? Because I think that's a really important statement.
The first whereas?
The first statement before the whereas.
Oh, okay. The subject of the resolution. Resolution of the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council and the Basin Energy Assessment Team, urging the County of San Bernardino Board of Supervisors and the Department of Land Use Services to establish a set of standards that are sensitive to social, commercial, and environmental conditions when responding to federal and state efforts to site renewable energy projects in this county. You're welcome.
Question? Unless there are comments from the go ahead. But would you?
This is one of my favorite subjects. For those who don't know, that the DRECP is basically transmission lines, those big things that hold the wires up and suspend them. And it's coming at a real high price. And the purpose of it is to attach all those commercial scale solar fields to transmission lines to take them to LA and wherever they need to go, probably to Las Vegas.
to light up the place. I believe the ticket price, the beginning ticket price was $64 billion. It's a lot of money. And I'm very pro solar, I'm very pro distributed solar. Distributed doesn't require additional transmission lines. It requires utility companies to build transmission stations that take electricity back, because you can put enough on your roof. And I know this because we did it this year through the HERO program, and I have 24 panels on my roof, and I make over 1.2 megawatts a month. That's a lot of electricity, and I don't use that much. 2 minutes of sunlight is enough to power the entire world for a year. People say it's not ready, solar's not ready, I hear that all the time. The Mars rover was sent up over 10 years ago. It had a life expectancy of 180 days, and it's still working today with 10-year-old technology, 10-year-old batteries, a motor burned out on the front, they drive it backwards, and they're still using it. So it is ready. Germany's at 78% of their total energy needs. They export energy to other countries in the European Union, and they're going to shut their nuclear plants down in 2 years. We could be doing this. So we don't need major transmission lines. It's a waste of more natural resources. It's temporary economic build out like we always do. Spend lots of money, build these big grand things. They employ people for a few years and then they're done. Then what do we do? Solar would be for forever.
But they look so beautiful.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Okay, the question's been called. Comments from the dais? Okay. If there are no other comments, we'll vote now. All in favor of resolution MAC 006, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes. At this time, I'd like to forego looking at the time, since our aim is to end at 8:30, to dispense with community officer and committee reports unless there are any burning issues. No, hearing none. Hearing none, we'll dispense with that until next month. Thank you for bearing with us. And items for the October agenda, I will mention that we have 2 representatives from the county coming to take a survey about the community block grant program, which might mean some money for our community, so I hope you'll come back in October for that. With that, we'll adjourn. Thank you all for coming.